Every once in a while, a product comes out that I see online, not from a company that I know, and not one that's been sent to me, and I'm like, dang, that looks pretty cool. This could be that. Hey guys, this is Coop from Garage Gym Reviews, and this is the Shogun Sports Nordic. It's designed to be both a Nordic board and a back extension slash like 45-degree hyper, built into one compact platform with premium materials. But like many all-in-one things, does it live up to the hype and do both well, or does it fall on both? We'll find that out today, but first, let me show you how it works. This is in the Nordic board position, and just like any other Nordic board, you put your feet in and you do a Nordic. Oh, I just had like a triple cheeseburger too, no big deal. Okay, that's the Nordic position, but to quickly change it, and it is quite quick, there's a knob on this back side. I pull this then comes up. This is cool, okay? This comes up. There's a tube right here that you have to undo and bring all the way up. You take this, stainless steel by the way, with laser etching of the degree markings, insert into the tube, like so, and then you're pretty much ready to go. It's at 55 degrees now. It goes from 55 to 35 degrees. You will have to adjust this and this to put your feet in. So this one, a bunch of adjustments, but that's where I'll put that one. And then this one, I like to put it a little bit lower, right there. And then now you can do back extensions. But wait, there's more. There is another way to use this. So the other way to use this is to pull this guy out all the way, which again, stainless steel. I mean, look at that. That is sick. Stainless steel. You then pull this one out all the way. This, you insert how you want. Fold this one all the way down, clip it in. Insert this. And now, Ripley's Believe It or Not, you can do progressive incremental Nordics. I love that. Okay, let's get into the review. Okay, so that's how it works. Before we go any further, Shogun Sports sent this free of charge so we could review it. Also, if you'd like to purchase it and help us out, I'll put a link below the like button where you can purchase it. The company will pay us a small commission, but it's not like it's added on to what you pay or anything like that. Also, if you're looking for a discount on it, I would check the link below the like button and there may be a discount code there. There have been discounts that we've noticed and things like that, so you can save a little bit more on this. Okay, let's get into the review. Now, I wanna talk, before I get into the materials or construction or anything like that, I wanna talk more about how it works and how it's actually used and what it feels like. Now, I've used a lot of Nordic boards. Nordic for the past like year to 2 years has been like a movement that I've had in my training literally twice a week. Every time I do a lower body, I almost always, after sprints or sleds or something like that, I often do Nordics. I love them, like I recommend them to everybody now. It's just a movement that I think is super underrated. And because of that, and also because I'm a gearhead, I've used and abused pretty much every Nordic board that's out there. In fact, I liked none of them so much that I decided to make a DIY version because they take up so much space and they do one thing. They're also very expensive. So this, just the idea that it does more than one thing and it's compact, I was into it. Also though, I have used a lot of back extensions. So all the ones from the cheap manufacturers to the little bit more expensive, so like the mid-tier stuff, all the way up to the really high end, like the Elite FTS 45-degree hyper, or which I think is the gold standard, the Atlantis Strength Pro back extension that's adjustable, also has a cable pulley attachment that you can use on, like I've used a lot of them. So I'm basically comparing this to how it works against those. And the first thing I wanna hit on is the Nordic portion. So when this is in the Nordic portion, it is a very compact machine. The way they designed this is so that when you're using it, you can basically use the hip pad that you would be using for the back extension as the extendable pad for the Nordic board. So many Nordic boards that are out there, let's say the Rogue Floor Glute, take up a lot of space. That one is 62 inches long and it does one thing, like it just does Nordics. This, when it's set up as a Nordic board, is 34 inches long. So it's not very long when it's being used. And it works just like any other Nordic board. Now I'm gonna talk about the materials more in depth later, but I do think it's worth hitting on. They're using a molded premium foam on this. It's a very high dense foam. The way I would compare it is like if you've ever used any of the newer ab mats that are out there, it's like a really dense foam, or Rogue's new premium bench pad, or say the ab mat medicine balls that they did with Rogue. Any of those, it feels a lot like that. So it's a very dense foam that I don't think will compress permanently very much over time, which is nice because you're gonna put a lot of force into it with your knees on Nordics. But it's a very comfortable foam, and it's used on both the knee pads, also the hip pad, and the leg rollers. So it feels really good. That's a very important component of Nordic boards. I've used Nordic boards that have thin, cheap foam, and they hurt. You don't end up using it. So it really matters that it's comfortable. The leg rollers they're using this are on the same material, and they have a kick plate on this. So once it's in use, like, you know, it feels like a normal Nordic board. But really, what is unique about this Nordic board, outside of the fact that it also does back extensions, is you can take the hip pad that you use for the back extensions, put it on the front. They have an adjustable piece that allows you to use it for incremental Nordic curl progression. Think about this. If you're doing a lift, most of the time you're using some sort of resistance, and if you're doing resistance, you're able to start at a lighter weight. Nordic curls are such a hard movement that you take anybody that is out there in the general population, even like 99% of lifters, you say do a Nordic, they're not gonna have any way to do it. The only way they can do it is kind of negatives, and when they do negatives, they pretty much fall on their face. Like, it's just a very hard movement that kind of takes some skill, but also takes a lot of strength in ways that people just haven't developed. So, let's say you were gonna do a deadlift and you had a 300-pound fixed barbell, but you could only deadlift 200 pounds. How do you get to the point that you can actually do a deadlift? Well, you have to somehow unload the weight with bands and things like that, make it kind of weird. The Nordic bench is the same way. This allows you to train various portions of the Nordic so you can actually get it. In order for me to do this previously, I used DC blocks, I stacked them up. One, they're very expensive. Two, it also takes a lot of time. Three, I gotta write down like where I'm at. It's just annoying. This allows you to place it out front so you can go to the range of motion where you are strongest and then back up. Build that up over time and then slowly degress it down. This is probably, for the Nordic portion, this is one of the best features. Like, it just really works well. It uses the same components that you're using for the back extension. It folds in very easily. They have a bunch of adjustable angles. Like, it can be very long too if you're very tall. It just works really well. Like, it just really stands out, and I really want to highlight it because if you're going to do Nordics, you want to learn how to do them, but don't have the strength to do one now, you've got to get something like this. So I'm not saying you have to get this one, but of all the ones that I've used, this is the best implementation of this design. Now, in the Nordic orientation, it doesn't mean I like everything about it. For instance, the kick plate that's on here, it's kind of short, so are the ankle rollers. I wish it was a wider platform. For instance, one of my favorite back extensions is Elite FTS 45-degree hyper. It just works really well. It's very solid, but the most unique thing about it is the kick plate is really long, and so are the leg rollers. That way you can actually do like wide stance back extensions, which their market is powerlifters, so it makes sense. This one, you have to be just really close. Not a huge deal for most people, and I also like it because it's more compact, which works better for home gyms, but I just wanted to call it out. Now let's move to the back extension, because Nordic board, I mean, it's a pretty basic design. You want it to be solid. It doesn't take a lot for it to work well. You really just need to use nice foam and have something that you can secure your feet and a toe plate to kick up against. But I think the back extension, it takes more designing. It takes more thought. It's the reason that back extensions that are out there are quite expensive. Like some of those, like the ones I mentioned at the beginning of this video, like the Atlanta Strength one, they are very pricey. So if you can get something that does kind of that stuff in this design and also be used as a Nordic curl, I think it would be a pretty cool proposition. So the pad that's used is the same pad that's used for the Nordic curl progression. So you take it off, there's another tube that you insert it in. All of these, by the way, use stainless steel on the tubing and have the numbers etched in. So they're not going anywhere, it's not like stickers. They have the degree marking on it. It looks really good, very easy to see, and it's stainless, which is very nice. But once you place it in there, you adjust the angle, and this does have an adjustable angle. By the way, most back extensions are called 45-degree hypers because they're just 45 degrees. Only the really nice, more expensive ones have adjustable angles, and this one can go all the way from 35 degrees up to 55 degrees. Personally, my favorite degree is 55 degrees. I like a more vertical, it just allows you to get more extension. I think it's better for back health. I really like that degree, and many that are out there don't do that. This one goes all the way from 35 up to that 55, so it's a long range. Also, the pad is very extendable, so depending on how tall you are, it's gonna work for you, whether you're really short or really tall. Like, I think it's gonna fit. But I think the question that comes is like, one, how stable is it, and how does it actually do in use versus a normal back extension? So first is the stability component. In my use with it, it's very stable. If you're doing weighted back extensions at a lower degree, say a 35 degree, there is a potential that it could tip forward because it's only so long and there's also no weight on the back. But if you're doing weighted, honestly, you should probably be doing it a little bit higher angle and do lighter weight. If you're doing that, in my experience, there hasn't been any tipping with it if it's in that orientation. And because it's got the extra feet that are going out front, it's pretty stable. When I'm using it, it's not necessarily as stable as something that you would use from, say, those other brands that I've mentioned, but for an all-in-one unit, it's much more stable than I would expect. Now, the other thing to consider is if you can hit full extension while using the hyper. That's something that matters because over time, your flexibility will improve. Also, you want to get a full range of motion. Also, if you're doing a higher incline, like one of the reasons you're doing the higher incline is so you can hit a fuller range of motion. You're gonna want to be able to not hit your head. And during using this, I haven't hit my head. So that was one thing I was worried about. I noticed the guy that they partnered with on this is a guy named Mr. Infinity. He showed a video using it. He's much taller than me, it looks like, and did it with a barbell and had no issues. I had no issues while using it. So just the back extension component during use, it feels like a back extension. It feels like a standalone back extension. Like, I was worried it was gonna feel different. If you're like, I only like standalone units because they feel better, they're more stable. Like, trust me, I'm typically that way too. Like, this during both the Nordics and the back extensions feel like standalone units, A+. Now to just speak briefly on the construction, and then I'll get into the value, pricing, comparisons, everything like that. So the construction on this is pretty darn good. This is a company I never heard of. They sell a bunch of jump ropes and like knee wraps and, you know, just a bunch of imported random crap. I wasn't expecting the quality to be this good. Like, truthfully, like the components they're using, all the hardware is stainless. Any wear component that's on here is stainless and then laser etched. The foam that they're using on this, it's not like they're using cheap leather or something. They're using molded foam, which is very expensive to produce because you have to have the molds for them and they cost a lot of money. They also have the logo, the Nordic logo embedded in the foam. Any badges that they have on here are stainless. They're not using any stickers. They've got casters on the back. Like, it's just everything about it, like, it's much more premium than I expected. It feels like it's from a company that has done this before. Maybe they have other companies or something or make other stuff, but on their site, like, this is definitely the premier product and it is very well done. Like, I just want to be clear on that. Like, I'm very surprised how good it is. Now, something to call out for the back extension specifically is the weight capacity. For the back extension, it has a total weight capacity of 500 pounds. 500 pounds is pretty good. You also have to consider that's not like a 500-pound bar weight, that's just total weight, so you take your body weight and add on to it. I don't know a lot of people outside of maybe Klokov that are doing 300-pound back extensions and weigh 200 pounds, okay? So this is basically gonna be able to hold whatever weight you really wanna use on it without having to worry about it. Also, the powder coat, it's a nice black textured powder coat, standard powder coat that you see from most places. There are some stickers on here that are more warnings, which I will definitely remove. But outside of that, if it's something that's permanent, they want on there like a logo, it's either etched in or a badge. The knobs they're using are nice metal pop pins. It's not like a cheap plastic pin. Every pin is nice metal. I mean, it's just like nicer components, including the leg roller. The back toe plate is diamond plate. If there's just like one major change I'd like about this, they could have made that wider and made the leg rollers wider. But other than that, like the components on this are very well done, which brings me to the price. And you're listening to this, you're like, man, stainless, you know, molded foam, this thing's gonna be expensive. And I just wanna give this caveat. This thing is more expensive than other floor glutes or other Nordic boards that are out there. But it's also a back extension, and also it's a really well-built Nordic curl. So this thing costs, with free shipping, standard base price, $1,000. Right now they have a $150 discount. I'm trying to negotiate more. So if I negotiate more, we'll put a link below the like button, just so you know. I do that all the time just for you guys so that you guys can get a bigger discount. But is the value there? That's the question. Honestly, $1,000 is a lot for a home gym, but for the components that they're using, also what it can do and how well it does it, dude, I actually think $1,000 I don't think that's overpriced. When I hear $1,000 for machines, it's like, oh my goodness, that's a lot of money. And for a lot of you, like, I wouldn't recommend this. Like, if you're just trying to do Nordic curls, you're not gonna do a back extension a lot of times. Like, go with, say, the Freak Athlete Nordic Mini. It's not nearly the quality of this, also doesn't have both components, but you can get it for 250 bucks. Or if you want to do Nordics and back extensions, you can get really cheap back extensions. I wouldn't use a lot of weight on them, but you could get them from Amazon, so you could come in a lot cheaper than this. But if you're somebody that wants like really nice components, nice foam, like they did not cheap out on this. I'm really glad they went to the high end of the market and not the low end, because this thing will get copied, I'm sure, by people all over the world selling it on Amazon. So I'm glad they went with the higher end. But if you're somebody that wants both machines into one that actually works for both, like just as good as it would work alone, and really high quality components, dude, I think this thing's awesome. Like honestly, out of everything we've reviewed this year, this one has surprised me the most. And yes, if you're asking the question, will it be in my garage gym? Yeah, definitely. So I like it that much. Okay, is there anything about it you're like, Coop, I wish you would have covered this. I wish you compared to this. Let me know in the comments. We'll see if we can reply to you with any other info that you need. Also, any specific questions you have on should I get this or should I get something else? Let me know. I mean, this isn't like the first piece of equipment I would buy for your home gym. Like I want to be clear on that. But after you have a lot of the basics down, like for building the posterior chain, the back extension and the Nordic curl are two of the best machines I think that you can buy. Okay, this has been Coop from Garage Gym Reviews. I'll see you next time. Peace.